All right, so Vince asked me to put together this presentation for you guys, just to kind of give you an overview of BIPV, building integrated photovoltaics. So you guys could, if you start getting questions or people are reaching out about us providing this product, or you guys actually start to price something that has BIPV on it, you have at least a general overview of what's required. So we're getting very close to starting to market our new subset name, which would be Walters and Wolf Architectural Solar. And I thought I'd give you guys the definition of BIPV, which is a renewable generating facility which forms an integral and essential part of a permanent building structure, without which a non-BIPV building material or component would be required. So basically, like your rooftop solar is building applied photovoltaics, and when it's actually integrated into something that would already be part of the structure of the building, it's building integrated photovoltaics. Also, the difference between power and energy, when talking about BIPV, this is a little bit important to understand. It can get a little bit confusing. So all solar power output is rated in peak watts, and that's based on the max instantaneous output of electricity of the solar panel. But we typically talk about it in energy output, which is rated in watt hours or kilowatt hours of electricity produced by a solar panel over a particular period of time. So there's a lot of applications for BIPV. The main ones that we are trying to capture are obviously in our curtain wall. So spandrel is really going to be the biggest one there. BIPV plays kind of a double role. It's able to produce power and cover up the slab edge. There's a slide later about a company that is working on getting larger sizes of glass, but they're producing vision glass that produces power from the sun. So that'll be incorporated obviously into the vision area. And then sunshades aren't on here, but that's a huge part of the market that we're trying to capture. And because most of the glass is a laminated outboard light, we also sometimes kill two birds with one stone as far as STC ratings, or spandrel with solar cells can also be considered bird safe. So this is just a little overview of kind of what we've done so far. This was the last mock-up that we built at Shop B in Fremont. This was the spandrel units that we installed on a Laverne job 5901 Sunset. And this is them glazing these units and setting the units for the mock-up. So part of this journey, we've created a proprietary edge mount junction box, which basically takes the power from the solar glass and brings it into the interior of the building. We worked with Staubli on this, and they produce it for us. Inside the junction box, there's a 2-part potting sealant that weather seals it, and it's attached to the glass with PV 804. We have an offset edge to make room for the junction box so it doesn't create a bunch of bulk in the pocket. The junction box comes with wires pre-attached, and actually even on those wires will be pre-attached grommets. And those grommets are also something that we designed to take those wires into the building where we're penetrating the water line, and those grommets are watertight. So we've designed a whole W75 system to house all the wiring, and these wire clips, which we've been utilizing a lot actually for view jobs. This bottom part of the horizontal is removable so that you can easily access the wires and connection points. Whenever anything goes wrong, it's always at a connection point. And these are just some more details so you guys can see how we're doing that. You connect the panels in series by daisy chaining them through the horizontal. This is just an example of 5901 Sunset. The single line diagram is something that needs to be done to figure out how everything's getting connected in series. And that also gives you your estimated power generation. And these were how the units were planned for 5901 Sunset. And this is just the Laverne shop glazing those units. And this is just a cool view from the inside looking out, just what it looks like from behind and them setting the units. The architect after this job was kind of regretting how much the spandrel kind of blends into the rest of the glass, and he was kind of wishing that he would have made it pop out more, because you can barely even really tell that there's solar there. So we've also designed this Horizon sunshade. This is the sunshade that we're actually going to be using on the Pear Avenue project that's going to be in the field in September. We've got two sunshades. One is captured on the front and the other isn't. And the wires are connected in that back body of the sunshade and daisy chained, attached with the MC4 connectors and then through the grommet holes. And then after you get to a certain max voltage, you got to bring it back to the inside of the building with a conduit. And we've got these micro inverter locations pointing out because that's something that we're trying to work on and create a partnership with another company, because we'd like to do micro inversion at the module level instead of having to spec a large inverter that they need room for in the electrical room. But all the micro inverters that exist in today's market are not in any shape that would fit in our mullions. And this is just a picture, a rendering of Pear Avenue, and it's going to have sunshades on all sides of the building. Cool little rendering from underneath. And then this is our infinity model, which it's not captured on the outside. We haven't done much with this yet, but the design is there. And we plan to produce another mock-up to install at our shop. We are waiting for Next Energy to get up to the size of 5x10s for their vision glass, so that we could create a full curtain wall that is 100% power producing. There's also some other products out there called schematics, and it's basically a coating that goes on the outside surface of the glass, and you can't see the solar cells, but it still enables the UV and infrared light to transfer through and produce power. So I'm thinking that this product is probably going to become pretty popular for architects, because they can kind of match the color of their glass and make it look like normal glass spandrel. So I know that this part is kind of more important to you guys, but basically I wanted to give you an overview of everything that's required for a complete BIPV system. Right now, we're still trying to define the roles concretely, but we haven't got there quite yet. But in the future, we would like all of the scope to be in SolarFab scope. So obviously they have the glass, LAMI, and the IGUs. We want them to purchase the edge mount junction boxes that come with the wires and the grommets pre-attached. And just to give you an example of what these cost, on Pear, they were $33,000. And then they also should be purchasing the PV 804 and the 2-part potting sealant, so that they can apply those junction boxes to the glass in their shop. And then solar cells, whether they're pre-strung or purchased separately with the wires separately, and then bus bars. And then our scope, at bid time, estimated power generation is probably going to be a pretty hot question. Just make sure that whenever we're providing this information or talking about this, that we really emphasize the word estimated, because we can never guarantee that the system is going to produce a certain amount of power. We can't predict the weather, the sun, the clouds, or if they decide to plant a bunch of trees right in front of the glass. Extra time should be figured for shop drawings and fabrication drawings so that we can include all the wiring details and locations for all the holes. Single line diagram is going to be used for electrical sub coordination. So that's going to be something that we're trying to figure out how to bring that in-house, but currently we've had to outsource that. And then rapid shutdown devices are required per electrical code at each module, and that's for firemen so that they can, shut off all the panels at once. And if they need to break glass to get into the building, they're not going to electrocute themselves. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at trying to get a microinverter designed to fit into our system. And that would also be a rapid shutdown device. So we could kind of kill two birds with one elegant stone on that. The example on Pear Avenue, the rapid shutdown devices, cost $11,000. And if we don't have microinversion at the module level, then we will need to include cost for an inverter. Isolators are something that we are choosing to use. It's kind of a belt and suspenders. This is basically the handoff point to the electrical sub. It just creates a really clean interconnection point so that they don't have to wait until nighttime to try to, connect the system or connect their parts to ours. And then we will have to purchase home run wires to, daisy chain everything and to take the wires back up to the isolators where the electrician would then take over. And then of course, extra time should be figured in for the shop. They've got a lot more holes to drill and they've got to run wires through the system, and extra time should be figured in the field for wiring as well. Another piece of this is UL certification. We currently hold UL 61730, which is a global standard for PV module safety, but every project is different. So every project has to be reviewed by UL, and most likely there will be a need for minor retesting to make sure that we're in line with our current UL certification. Like on Pear Avenue, we're using a different solar cell manufacturer, even though it's the same exact cell with the same exact power output and same exact specs, they still require additional testing, and that cost $6,250 on Pear Avenue. Holding this certification gives us the ability to sell this system or these sunshades all over the world, which is pretty cool. There is a document produced by IEC, that UL 62915, that basically lays out the retesting guidelines. And I was trying to get that document for you guys before this presentation, but they've made it a very protected document. So I still can't figure out how to open it, even though I've purchased it. And I've got to figure out how to make it shareable so that all of you guys can, use it and reference it so that, like, oh, the project's varying X, Y, and Z. Let me see what the retesting requirements are for that. So I do think that will be a valuable document for us. And as soon as I can figure out how to open it and make it shareable, I will. And then, as I mentioned, we've been working closely with Next Energy. They're out of Santa Barbara, and they are producing totally transparent photovoltaic glass. We built this mock-up for them using our W75 BIPV system. And this was actually the first one that we did. We did a second one with them that we have at our shop, and we're using it to kind of wheel out in front of the office, and architects and owners are we've already had a couple visits, and they're scheduling more in the future. So, and then this is just some actual data on their product as far as their glass. And I just really like this picture because it looks like a normal piece of glass. And you can see this is a picture looking out of their glass. And this is a picture just of the same thing with no glass, and they are pretty dang similar. Questions? I know I talk fast, I'm sorry.
Shiloh, that last one there with the glass where you can see through it, does that have like, I'm assuming it has a lot less production value in terms of how much energy it can produce, or is that assumption wrong?
I forget the difference, but the difference is surprisingly not as large as you think it would be. Okay. Their technology is actually, it's definitely the most efficient, transparent photovoltaic technology currently on the market. And I think I can say this now because it seems like they're starting to say this, but I did sign an NDA. But Viracon and Next have partnered up. So Viracon's actually going to be putting they're using old die coating print machine to print this. It's an organic coating onto the glass that's able to take the sun and make power.
That's cool.
Yeah, I can get the exact number difference for you, Vince, if you really want to know.
I mean, I was just purely curious because and it was kind of assumption. I just assumed that those, when I could see through it, weren't going to perform as well. But I mean, it's an amazing technology, and it really opens up the possibilities for the architectural community, where forever they've really been kind of focused on spandrel areas and where they wouldn't obstruct the view of occupants, and this really changes the game entirely, that technology.
Yeah, and what they make up for in lack of efficiency with direct sunlight, their pieces of glass will actually be able to produce at earlier times in the day and later times in the day, because a standard solar cell requires like a specific angle of the sun in order for the rays to excite the electron particles. And with their technology, I don't really understand how it works because it's like some major science stuff, but the angle of it can capture the rays from like almost all angles of the sun. So when the sun is low in the sky, it's still producing really well. Sweet.
Any other questions, guys?
So basically this is not going to be compatible with any sort of like other high performance coatings or like
no. Yeah, I get what you're asking. Yeah, but they are working on, right now I think they have a gray color glass and a blue color glass, and they're working on expanding their colors.
And what about in terms of manufacturer? So now that they've partnered up with Viracon, so this will more than likely just be a Viracon product.
Yes, and I think their timeline is towards the end of next year. Right now, they're only able to produce 14-inch by 20-inch pieces of glass, but that's just because they don't have large enough equipment. But as soon as they get the line running at Viracon, they'll be, I think they're going to be up to 5 by 10 at the beginning of next year. Which is why we built this, baby, all these grid looking type of thing. It really is because the constraint there with their size.
Shiloh, do you know how much is different cost between regular glass and if we use this technology?
Between regular glass and Next glass? I don't, and I bet you that they don't have that answer yet either. I'm sure they've got to try to figure out a price point that they want to sell at, and Biorecon's gonna definitely have some say in that. I know the intent is for it to not just be like a huge cost ad, but because we don't want to VE this out, which is what's been difficult about pricing these jobs, you know, in the past couple of years, is that it is more expensive to do this. And, you know, we send the price over and they're like, holy crap, that's a lot. But luckily with Title 24 changes, it's pushing further and further towards basically they're not really going to have a choice. They're going to have to start incorporating solar into the structure. There's not a lot of room on the roof. You know, it's expensive to build a solar array that's not part of the building. And there's usually not a lot of room for it. Sweet. Well, if you guys get any inquiries, feel free to reach out to me with any questions. I can help as much as I can.
And this Laverne job has been completed?
The 5901 Sunset, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been done for a couple years now.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, Shiloh. Appreciate
You guys
it.
are a talkative bunch. Wow.
Yeah. Thanks, Shiloh.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Nice.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.